Alright guys, how's it going? This is Mr. Zarea here at Landrum Middle School in Spring Branch ISD. And today we're going to take a look at programming our VEX robots to just simply have basic motor functions just to move around. And hopefully we're going to end up with a robot that is able to move around the perimeter of the table. Okay, so I've just opened up RobotC. And before we begin, I just want to remind you guys to make sure that you're always using your brain and you're thinking things through. It makes life just a whole lot easier. So I'm here at the RobotC start page, and this is not what I want. I'm going to need to open up a program, a sample program. And so I'm going to go to File, Open Sample Program, and I know that I've saved my sample program on the desktop. It's called Zarea Robotics Template. This is the one that I have shared with you guys in the past. So it opens up and we have a completely blank program. We just have some notes, but there's nothing actually in between the open and closed curly brackets here. So I'm going to leave all of this top information, this notes, I'm going to leave that stuff for you guys to worry about later. I'm not actually going to type that stuff in because really our focus right now for this video is just to figure out how do we get this robot to move. So just to kind of summarize what my robot is, it is simply basically a car. It's got a left motor and a right motor, and those left and right motors are attached to either the front wheels or the back wheels, and the idea is I want to just drive my car around the perimeter of the table. So remember that our program won't start until here, which is line 20, because I have my open curly bracket. This is after task main, open parentheses, close parentheses. So when my program starts, what I want it to do is simply drive forward. Okay, it's going to drive forward for a certain amount of time, and then it's going to stop and turn left because I want my car to go counterclockwise around the perimeter of the table. So where do I get the commands for that? Well, I'm going to go into the natural language library, and I'm going to go into the movement category, and I see that we have set servo, start motor, stop motor. I'm going to drag and drop start motor, okay, and I'm going to have two motors, so I'm going to call them left motor and right motor. Okay, so remember that the naming convention for all motors and sensors is going to be lowercase first word, no space on the second, and then uppercase first letter on the second word. So it's left, capital M motor. It asked me for speed. My speed, we can go from, I think it's 0 to 127. I'm just going to go about 80 as my speed. Okay, so that's the left motor, and when the left motor starts, guess what I want to have happen? I want the right motor to also start. So I can just simply copy and then paste. I could also do Control C, Control V. And I'm going to change this to right motor. Okay, so right now my car should be traveling forward. Okay, I'm going to say it should be because it just depends on the orientation of the motor. Now I want it to travel forward for, let's say, 2 seconds. I don't know how long it's going to take. Let's just see if 2 seconds is an appropriate amount of time. So where can I find the wait? Well, I'm going to go to the wait section, and I'm going to drag in, drop, wait time. Where it says wait time, everything that is not a dark bolded blue, that is a light black, those are things that I need to input. So I'm going to just give it 3 seconds. Let's just say 3 seconds. After 3 seconds is up, if I want this to turn left, what's going to have to happen is the left motor is probably going to have to move in reverse, and the right motor is probably going to have to go forward. So that should make it a left-handed turn, I hope. So I'm just going to copy this information and I'm going to paste it here. However, something has got to occur before I can start reversing my left motor, which I'm going to go ahead and type that in as reverse by putting -80 right there. So it's +80, -80. The right motor will move forward, the left motor will move backward, which should make everything go ahead and turn left. So before I just automatically make my left motor turn backwards, I need to stop it first. So I'm going to actually type this in. Stop motor, and then open parentheses, I'm going to type in left motor. And the reason why I want to stop it is that split second where the electricity stops flowing to that motor allows it to stop, and then it will restart going in reverse, which we are looking for so we don't strip the gears, so we don't mess up our actual robotic motor. Okay, another good thing would probably be for me to put a weight in here, just to be on the safe side. So I'm going to type in weight, and I'm going to put a 1/2 second wait. Okay, so everything looks good so far. We've got our left hand turn. All right, so now we're going to move on. All right, let's see if you notice that 0.5 did not turn into a red number. Let's change it to 1. All of a sudden it changed. So if we were to wait milliseconds, we'd probably have to use the wait milliseconds command. All right, so it's going to turn left. How long do I want it to turn left for? Well, I really don't know. Let's see if turning left for, let's say, 2 seconds is an appropriate amount of time. Once it turns left for 2 seconds, then I want my robot to begin moving forward again in a straight line. So I'm just going to click and drag or copy this first block. I also need to copy this. Okay, so it's moving forward for 3 seconds. When that 3 seconds is up, I'm going to have my left motor stop again, wait a second, and then we want it to turn. So let's copy all of this, and we are just simply going to do that again. Okay, and if I've done this correctly, okay, so I want another wait 2 seconds. If I've done this correctly, what should be happening is I should have made 2 left turns. So it should have gone forward, turn left, gone forward again, turn left. And let's just test this right here. I'm going to make everything stop. So I can drag stop motor, and I'm going to stop my left motor. Okay, and then you know what? I'm going to type the next one. So I'm going to say stop motor, open parentheses, right motor, close parentheses, semicolon. So at that point, all this is a very straight and linear program. So hopefully everything will work. I should drive forward for 3 seconds, then the left motor should stop temporarily for a second, and then the left motor will go in reverse. You know what? I don't like that. I'm going to make that 0.1 second, and I'm going to make this 0.1 second. Let's just see if it works this way. Now, before I can do anything, I need to go and set up my motor and sensors. And I have no sensors, but I do have 2 motors. And we're going to say that in my left my left motor is going to be in port 2, and my right motor is in port 3. Let's see if all that stuff is correct. So I'm going to say left motor, and then here I'm going to say right motor. Okay, and then I'm going to label the type of motor that I have, and I'm going to click apply, and I'm going to click OK. So I'm going to go to File, Save As. I'm going to save this as a car. Okay, and there we go. So let's take a look here. Does everything seem to be okay? Well, let's try it out and see what happens. I'm going to turn my robot on, and then I'm going to press F5. Once I press F5, if there's any errors, those errors will show up here. Oh, it's telling me the VEX battery is not on. I think it was just loose. Let me F5 this again. Okay, so everything looks to be okay. I can test out my motors right here. I don't want to do that right now. We're going to see if this actually functions whenever I go and test it on the table. So I could press start, but I don't want to press start because I want to disconnect my robot from the computer and then go and try this out on the table. So I'm just simply going to close this, and then I'm going to turn my robot off, and let's go meet ourselves at the table and see if this works. Okay, so here we are at the table. We've already downloaded the program here, and I've turned the Cortex off. So once I turn the Cortex on, the last program that I downloaded to the Cortex should run. So let's see what happens when I turn this on. I don't know. It may go that way. It may come towards me, and I'll show you the fix on both of those if we have an issue. So I'm going to turn it on. Okay, it drives forward, and That looked like it was too much time. Okay, so I think the 3 seconds forward is way too much time for it to keep going. All right, and it looks like that's going to last quite some time. So let me show you whether or not it actually does that left-handed turn, just to test that out. Okay, so the left-handed turn is way too much also. So now we know we've got to change a couple of things with our program before we can really test this out a little bit better. Okay, so we're back here at the program, and I noticed a couple of issues. First of all, the forward motion is lasting too long, so I'm going to drop that to 1.5. The weight is probably fine, but the weight here, whenever it's turning left, that turned way too much. So I'm going to say 0.8 on our turn, and I'm going to simply just change all of those things. We're going to make this 1.5. We're going to keep that at 0.1. We're going to make this 0.8. Okay, and let's download this and see if this works correctly. So let me turn my robot back on and download. Oh, I must have accidentally gotten rid of my open parentheses. Now I'm going to download it. Okay, so it's all downloaded. I'm going to close this, and before I walk away, I'm going to click save. Now I'm going to turn off my robot, and let's go test this out at the table again. Okay, so here we are back at the table. Let's see if all those adjustments that I made are going to make the difference that we're looking for. So I'm going to turn it on. It should run the program the way that we downloaded it earlier. Okay, that looks good. Okay. Well, I had 2 left turns and it stopped. But my left turns are not exactly the 90-degree turn that I'm looking for, and my traveling forward is not exactly the amount of time that I need to have in order for it to travel forward. So we're going to take the robot, sit in front of the computer, and just kind of discuss, but I'm not going to show you the answer. Okay, so we're back at the program again, and the 2 things that we noticed was, first of all, the straight line movement forward was not long enough. So 1.5 is probably going to need to increase. And then we also noticed that the left-hand turn seemed like it was turning a little too much. So we might have to dial back on this 0.8 of a second or 0.8 of a second also. These are the kinds of things that you are going to have to test and test and test and test and figure out until you get exactly the way that you want it. Okay, so I'm not going to waste time actually doing that, because you guys should have the general idea of how to make the motor go forward. Start motor, you identify the motor, comma, space, and then you give it a speed. And then to stop the motor, it's stop motor, and then the name of the motor. Okay, everything of course has to be in the parentheses and it has to have a semicolon after it. All right. To go backward, we can do negative. We can also make things go backwards if we just reverse the polarity on the wires. So instead of red to red and green, black to black, we could switch it to red to black and black to red. That would reverse it, and that would give us the same scenario as a negative number. Okay, so I think I've given you enough information to try to figure out how to design and program your robot to move around the table. I didn't complete the entire program, but I didn't do that for a specific reason. All right, you guys are going to figure it out on your own. So I just want to remind you guys, make sure that you're always using your brain, thinking things through, and always just do the right thing. Okay, take it easy, guys.